The first time I took my revenge, it happened in the same glass lobby where they once pushed me out. Madison stood near the front desk in her sharp blue blazer, laughing with her team before the all-hands meeting. I walked in calm, holding a simple bouquet of daisies the way a man carries the truth. Light in the hand, heavy in the heart. The big screen on the wall behind her flickered to the company's splash page. People were still taking their seats, sipping free coffee, checking phones. No one looked at me twice. I set the flowers on the podium, right where she would stand. The little card tucked into the petals wasn't a card at all, but a tiny device I'd spent many late nights building. It felt like a heartbeat in my fingers. One press, and the screen would stop showing the feel-good slides. One press, and the room would see what I had seen. One press, in the same place that called me disruptive, would choke on the truth. Madison spotted me, and her smile turned to stone. She whispered to the head of security. He started toward me with that, "Sir, I'm going to need you," face. I pressed a button. The screen blinked black. The speakers popped. A folder name appeared. Be nice to Ethan. Then the first video loaded. 100 heads turned. Madison's hand rose like she could hold the room still. The clip froze on the first frame. Audio not yet playing. And then the lights went out. I didn't plan to be the guy with flowers in a lobby full of strangers. I planned to be a simple husband doing a simple kind thing on a normal Friday. Up before the sun, I brewed coffee in our small Austin apartment, the kind with the thin walls and the loud pipes that bang like someone kicking them for fun. I burned the toast. I tried again. I set out a note for Madison. "Good luck on your pitch. Love, E." And drew a tiny heart because she teased me that my hearts look like potatoes. I smiled at that because her teasing used to be warm. It used to be us. That morning was quiet, soft, and plain. The kind of morning that makes you think life is steady. I ironed my shirt, a white one I saved for church and job interviews. I checked the time. She had left early, saying she needed to prep slides for the new partnership. I pictured her walking fast, bun tight, earbuds in, talking to the air like she always does on work calls. I liked thinking about her that way, busy and strong. It made me proud. On my way out, I grabbed daisies from the corner grocery. I asked the clerk for a little card. He said they were out, so he gave me a sticky note. I laughed, wrote for you, and stuck it on the plastic wrap. It felt small, but love is often small, right? It's the little things that tell people they are seen. At a red light, a school bus pulled up next to me. Kids pressed faces to the window and waved. I waved back. I thought about how Madison and I had talked about kids, then stopped talking about kids, then said, maybe next year, and left on a shelf between us like a board game with missing pieces. It hurt to think about it, so I didn't. The building where Madison worked looked like a giant fish tank. You could see people moving on every floor. The front desk had 2 receptionists in matching black, a tray of fruit water, and a man in a blazer who stood like a tree. I told the receptionist I was here to drop off flowers for my wife. Her name is Madison Clark, I said, and gave my best friendly smile. She typed. She looked up, then down, then up again. Something passed over her face like a cloud. "One moment," she said, picking up the phone. She talked low. I held the flowers and tried not to sweat through my shirt. The man in the blazer moved closer. "Sir," he said, "who are you here to see?" "My wife," I said. I said it with the easy pride of someone who still believes in the word wife. He looked at the daisies, then at me, like he was trying to measure how dangerous a bouquet could be. Madison stepped out of the elevator, fast. Her eyes went to flowers first, then to the sticky note, then to me. She didn't smile. She didn't even fake one. It was like I brought a stray dog into a fancy dinner. "Ethan," she said flat. "Hey," I said, lifting the flowers like I was lifting a small flag. Surprise? She didn't take them. She didn't say thank you. She looked at the receptionist and then at the man in the blazer. "He doesn't have clearance," she said. "Get him out." It was like someone pulled the floor out from under my shoes. "Madison," I said, a little laugh breaking out of me because I believe it had to be a joke. "It's me." People started looking. One woman in a bright dress whispered to a friend. The man in the blazer put a hand out, not touching me, but close enough for me to feel the heat of it. "Sir, we're going to ask you to leave." "Leave." I repeated. The word felt foreign. "I just brought flowers." Madison crossed her arms. "You can't just show up," she said. We talked about boundaries. We hadn't, not in words. In the last few weeks, she had talked about being heads down and at capacity. Words that sounded like they belonged to a robot. But boundaries? No. We still kissed goodnight. We still shared a bed. We were still us. Weren't we? "Madison." I tried again, softer, because I could feel how small I looked, and I wanted to look smaller, not bigger. "You have your big pitch today. I just want to tell you I'm proud." She stared at me like I was a pop-up ad. "Please escort him out," she told the man in the blazer. He didn't grab me. He didn't need to. The room did the grabbing for him. The looks, the silence, the heat in my neck. I nodded, because I didn't know what else to do. I turned toward the door, still holding the daisies. The automatic glass hissed open and spit me onto the sidewalk. Out there, the Texas sun made the petals look neon. I stood on the hot concrete and stared at my reflection in the glass like I could talk to the brave version of myself inside it. A jogger ran by. A woman with a dog side-eyed me in the flowers. I felt like a clown that had lost his act. I sat in my car, closed the door, and the world went quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. I kept seeing the way she looked at me. Cold, like I was a stain on her shirt. I put the flowers on the passenger seat and let the air conditioner blow on my face. A part of me still wrote excuses for her. She's stressed. She's nervous. She'll want a scene. She'll text an apology. That part of me was a loyal dog waiting by the door. Then my phone buzzed. It was a calendar alert I wasn't supposed to see. A shared calendar entry from months ago that she had forgotten to remove me from when she switched teams. The title was Partner Strategy, Private. The location was not a conference room. It was a hotel 2 blocks away. The time was 30 minutes from now. I stared at the screen. My thumb shook. This was not proof of anything. I told myself. Meetings happen in hotels. People do weird things with calendars. But my chest felt tight, and a slow burn climbed my throat. I should have gone home. I should have driven away, turned on the radio, and drowned my thoughts in a dumb talk show. But there are moments when your life makes a turn, and you know it while it's doing it. You can feel the wheel in your hands. I put the car in drive. The hotel lobby smelled like lemons and new money. A man in a suit asked if he could help me. I said no and walked past like I belonged there. I didn't. But grief can make you brave. Or foolish. Sometimes they were the same jacket. The calendar listing gave a floor and a room number. I got in the elevator and pressed a button. My heart pounded loud. I watched numbers light up and tried to breathe slow, so no one would see how my chest jumped. When the doors opened, the hallway was empty and thick with carpet. I moved down it like I was walking underwater. I found the door. I stood there a long time. I thought of all the ways I could be wrong, and I begged to be wrong. I pressed my ear against the wood. Nothing. I lifted my hand to knock and stopped. A cleaning cart stood a few doors down. Its top was stacked with white towels and tiny soaps. A key card lay on the corner, forgotten or left as bait by the universe. My hand reached out before my brain had the chance to say don't. The card was warm from the sun that came through the hall window. I slid it into the slot. The light turned green. I opened the door 2 inches. Empty room. The curtains were closed, but the edges leaked bright day. A laptop sat on the table, lid down, 2 glasses on a tray. I stepped in slow. The air smelled like coffee and something sweet. I told myself I was going to leave a note. I told myself I would write, "I love you. This hurts. Please call me." That lie helped me cross the carpet. I lifted the laptop lid. The screen came to life. A chat window filled the whole display. The last message was still open, hanging like a wet shirt on a line. From Clark, "We'll keep him calm through the pitch." After that, we turned the page. From Jared, "And if he doesn't accept the new story?" From Clark. Then we write it for him. I read it twice. 3 times. My name wasn't there, but I felt it. Him. The word wrapped around my throat. My phone buzzed again. A new event popped up on my shared calendar. It was for the same room. It started in 5 minutes. Title, Dry Run Final. I heard the elevator ding down the hall. Panic ran through me like cold water. I closed the laptop, set the key card back on the table like I never touched it, and slipped out. I walked past the cleaning cart, pressed the elevator button, then changed my mind and took the stairs. My legs shook on the way down. Back in my car, I put the flowers in my lap and stared at the lobby doors of the fish tank office across the street. People flowed in and out. Everything looked normal. That's what betrayal looks like at first. Normal, even pretty. I drove home and sat at our small kitchen table with the flowers in a water glass. I tried to eat a banana. It turned to chalk in my mouth. I opened my laptop, the old one with the worn space bar, and started to dig. I pulled up old emails, bank statements, calendar invites. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I only knew I would recognize it when I found it. Little things started to add up. Dinner charges at the same place. Always on nights. She said she worked late. 2 Uber rides to the same hotel, 2 months apart, during off-sites. A new savings account in her name only, opened last week. A transfer from our joint account into it for an oddly round number, $10,000. Even though we had agreed to use extra cash to pay down the car. My head felt heavy. I put it down on my arms. I wanted to cry, but the tears didn't come. I felt something else instead, something tight and slow and hot. It took its time filling me. It had a simple name. I texted Madison, "Can we talk?" She replied 1 minute later, "In meetings all day. Tonight." A minute after that, "And please don't ever show up at work like that again." The anger rose a little higher. I opened a blank document. I typed the title without thinking. What they did to me. I stared at it and then changed it to what they're doing. I started a list. Times, dates, places. I copied screenshots into a folder. I labeled it something I knew only I would understand. Daisies. Each new item made the picture clearer. Not just cheating. A plan. A plan with me as a piece on the board. At 4:30, my phone pinged again. This time it wasn't a calendar. It was a video file sent from an unknown number with a 512 area code. Local. No message, just a file. I shouldn't have opened it. But by then I could not stop opening doors. The video showed Madison's office floor, filmed from a phone held at waist height. She was at the far end, talking with a tall man in a gray suit I recognized from a framed photo on her desk. Jared, the VP. They were close but not touching. She was smiling with all her teeth. The person holding the phone turned it slightly, and I saw the caption on the screen for a second before it vanished. "You don't deserve this. Someone should tell you." Then the video ended. A second file arrived. This one was a screenshot of a calendar invite. The same hotel room. The same title. Dry Run Final. And note written on the screenshot with a finger. Watch the lobby at 5:15. I looked at the time. 5:07. I grabbed my keys so fast they scraped the table. Traffic was a knot. I wove through cars with that shaky focus you get when you're scared and sure at the same time. My chest thumped. I parked badly and ran. At 5:15 on the dot, I stood across the street from her building behind a row of crepe myrtles. The glass doors opened. Madison and Jared stepped out side by side, laughing like 2 people who have never been told no. They started toward the hotel. I took 1 step forward, then stopped. I wasn't ready to be seen. Not yet. Not like this. I pulled out my phone and filmed him, my hand steady now. I filmed the way his hand brushed hers at the crosswalk. I filmed the way she looked up at him, the exact way she used to look at me when I installed a ceiling fan, without dropping it. They went inside the hotel. I stayed outside and filmed the door. A third message came in from the same unknown number. "You didn't hear this from me, but if you want to win, don't shout." So, that night, Madison came home late. She smelled like the hotel lobby. I wanted to scream. Instead, I asked how her day went and let her tell me a smooth story about alignment and momentum. She didn't ask about the flowers. She didn't say sorry about the lobby. She fell asleep on the couch with her laptop open to a slide that said, "We win with trust." I watched her sleep and realized trust could be used like a knife. The next morning, I started building the thing that would live inside a bouquet and speak louder than I ever could. I pulled out the little skills I had from a past life. IT help desk, the tinkering habit, the way my hands remember how wires feel. I learned what I needed from old forums and late-night trial and error. I made mistakes that smelled like burned plastic. I kept going. I waited a week. I collected more dots and drew lines between them. I watched entrances and exits. I mapped the way the all-hands meetings worked, the way the lobby screen pulled slides from a shared drive, the way a guest Wi-Fi network shook hands with a lonely port behind a loose panel near the podium. Every night, I added to the daisies folder. Every day, I wore my small life like a coat that didn't fit. On Thursday, the company posted a big sign in the lobby, "All Hands Friday, big news." On Thursday night, Madison's smile at dinner was bright and sharp like a new coin. She said, "Tomorrow changes everything," and kissed my cheek like I was a lucky charm. Friday morning came again. I burned the toast again. I wrote another note, "You've got this," and left it by the coffee maker. Then I drove to the store and bought daisies. I walked into the fish tank building like I did the first time, but I was a different man now. The lobby smelled like victory and lemon cleaner. I set the bouquet where everyone would see it and slid the card into place, heart pounding but hand steady. Madison saw me. Security saw me. The room held its breath the way a room does when it expects a joke. I pressed the button on the card. The screen on the wall blinked and turned black. The company logo gave way to the words, "Be nice, T.O., Ethan." Head snapped toward the display. For a second, one clean, bright second, I felt taller than I was. A video thumbnail loaded. The first frame showing that same hotel hallway carpet like a field of quiet. The kind of frame only the person who recorded it would recognize. Madison's eyes went wide. Jared stood frozen halfway through a sip of coffee. The audio hadn't started yet. The image hung there like a hell breath. Then, with a hard click, every light in the lobby cut out. Darkness wrapped the room. Someone gasped. Somewhere a phone dropped and cracked. I stood very still, my finger on the tiny button, listening to the room learn how to be afraid. A hand closed around my shoulder. "Sir," a voice breathed at my ear. "You need to come with me." I turned my head slowly. In the black glass, my reflection looked like a shadow with a beating heart. And then, just as the backup lights hummed to life and the screen flickered back on, the video began to play. The backup lights hummed in the lobby, bathing everything in a pale yellow glow. Gasps gave way to murmurs as people turned toward the giant screen. The video flickered into motion, jerky at first, then smooth. It was grainy phone footage, my footage from that day outside the hotel. Madison and Jared, side by side, her laughing, his hand brushing hers. The room went dead quiet. Madison's face drained of color. She stepped toward the podium, her voice cutting through the air, sharp and high-pitched. "Turn it off. Now!" But she didn't control the screen anymore. I did. The footage jumped to a second clip. Inside the hotel room, the camera angled low, catching their shoes, the edge of the bedspread, their shadows moving against the curtain. There was no sound, only the hum of the air conditioner in the video. That silence was worse than any audio could have been. It left space for people's minds to fill in the rest. Security. Madison barked, but no one moved. Even the guard with his hand still on my shoulder hesitated, his eyes glued to the screen. The final clip played, a screenshot of their chat conversation from her laptop. My name wasn't there, but him was, and it was enough. The words will keep him calm. Then we write the story for him glowed in big, white letters across the display. The room erupted. Some gasps, some low whistles, some whispers that weren't even whispers. Madison lunged for the daisies, ripping them off the podium, but the damage was done. The card device was already tucked in my jacket pocket. 2 guards grabbed my arms. This time, there was no gentleness. "Sir, you're leaving," one said, dragging me toward the doors. I didn't fight. I let them. I let the crowd part from me, their stares following, some curious, some pitying, some almost impressed. As the glass doors hissed shut behind me, I caught one last glimpse of Madison. Face red, eyes darting from co-worker to co-worker, her lips moving fast, but her voice drowned out by the buzzing in my ears. Out on the sidewalk, the sun hit me like a slap. I breathed in deep, letting the heat fill my lungs. The bouquet was gone, the flowers crushed somewhere in that lobby, but I didn't care. What I'd just done was only the opening move. Because the real revenge? That hadn't even started yet. I didn't go home after they dragged me out. I walked past the glass tower, past the coffee shop where Madison and I used to split a cinnamon roll before her early meetings, past Park where we'd once planned a picnic, and ended up eating takeout in the rain. My head was buzzing, not from shame anymore, but from clarity. The video had landed exactly the way I'd imagined. It didn't need to prove everything. It only needed to plant the seed. And now that seed was growing in the heads of everyone she worked with. Still, I knew Madison. She wouldn't crumble in a single blow. She was smart enough, ruthless enough, to spin this before it took root, which meant I needed to keep moving before she could decide what story to tell. I ducked into a small diner off Congress Avenue. It smelled like burnt bacon and strong coffee, which felt safe in a way. I slid into a booth, ordered a black coffee, and opened my laptop. The daisies folder was waiting for me, fat with files, screenshots, videos, bank transfers, Uber receipts. I hadn't shown even half of what I had. The first message came in while I was scrolling. Unknown number. Nice opening. Want the rest of the footage? I froze. Whoever this was, they had been feeding me pieces. First a hotel lobby video. Now this. My finger hovered over the keyboard. "Me, who are you?" The reply came fast. Unknown number. Someone who hates her as much as you do. A small, ugly smile pulled at my mouth. "Me. And what do you want to return?" Unknown number. Just to watch her burn. The next message was a link. No explanation. No warning. Just a Dropbox folder titled Clark Internal. Inside, a goldmine. Recordings of meetings, emails forwarded from her work account, even an audio file of her in Jared's office saying, "Once Ethan's out of the picture, we can roll the whole thing into our names and no one will question it." That last one made me grip my coffee mug, so tight, I thought it would crack. I typed back, "Me, how do I know this is real?" The stranger replied with something that made my stomach twist. A photo of Madison's desk, taken that morning, with the daisies I brought dumped in the trash can beside it. Yeah, it was real. By the afternoon, my plan had shifted from hurting her reputation to destroying the thing she valued most, her carefully built career. I didn't want her to just lose face. I wanted her to lose everything she'd used me to climb. But before I could pull the next thread, something happened that made the hairs on my neck stand up. I was still in the diner when the bell above the door jingled. 2 men in plain clothes walked in, scanning the room. One of them spotted me, and they came straight over. "Ethan Clark?" the taller one asked. My mouth went dry. "Yeah." He slid into the booth without asking. "We need to talk about this morning." The shorter one stayed standing, blocking my exit. "Step outside with us." I glanced at my laptop, at the folder full of their little empire's dirty laundry. If these guys were who I thought they were, stepping outside might mean losing all of it. So instead I said, "If we're talking, we talk right here." The taller one leaned in, his voice low. "Then let me put it plain. You're going to delete whatever you've got, and you're going to forget today happened. Or you're going to have bigger problems than a marriage on the rocks." The diner felt suddenly too small, the smell of bacon now making me nauseous. I swallowed, forcing my voice steady. "And if I don't?" He smiled, not friendly. "Then you find out how fast we can ruin you." I leaned back, heart pounding, and realized something important. This wasn't just Madison and Jared. There was a whole machine behind them. And now that machine had noticed me. I didn't answer him right away. Instead, I let the silence sit there between us, heavy and awkward, like an extra person at the table. The tall guy's smile didn't move, but his eyes narrowed just enough for me to see the threat behind them. "You've got until tonight," he said finally, sliding a folded piece of paper across the table. "That's the number you call when you're ready to make this right." The short one, still blocking my way out, leaned closer and whispered, "You're playing with people who don't lose." Then they both walked out, leaving the bell above the diner door to jingle like nothing had happened. I unfolded the paper. No name, just a number and 2 words written in sharp, all-caps letters. Delete everything. I sat there staring at it. Coffee gone cold. My laptop still open to the daisies folder. My hands were sweating. Not from fear of Madison anymore. This was bigger. If these guys were part of whatever Madison and Jared were cooking, then her betrayal wasn't just personal. It was business. Dangerous business. And I had just made it public. The smart move would have been to call the number, erase the files, and hope they'd leave me alone. But the problem was, I wasn't smart anymore. Not about this. Whatever part of me used to be reasonable had been burned away the moment she had me thrown out of that lobby like a stranger. I wasn't letting this go. I closed the laptop and walked out of the diner, phone in my pocket, the number burning in my mind. I didn't go home. Home felt like a place they could find too easily. Instead, I went to the public library downtown, where I could blend in among the rows of students and old men pretending to read the newspaper. From there, I pulled up a fresh email account, one that didn't trace back to me. I sent a single message to the unknown number that had been feeding me information. "We need to meet. In person." The reply came within minutes. "Unknown, not smart. Me. Neither is letting them scare me off." A pause. Then, "Unknown, tonight. 11 p.m. Parking deck at 5th and Lavaca. Level 4. The hours between then and 11 felt like years. I walked the streets, keeping an eye over my shoulder. Every time I caught my reflection in a shop window, I barely recognized the guy staring back. Jaw tight, eyes cold, carrying a tension in his shoulders that wasn't there a week ago. When the time finally came, I headed to the deck. Level 4 was almost empty, except for a single silver SUV parked under a busted light. The driver's window rolled down as I approached, and a woman's voice called out, "You're either brave or stupid, Clark." She stepped out. Mid-30s, short dark hair, black leather jacket. The kind of woman you could pass on the street a dozen times and never notice, unless she wanted you to. She looked me over, smirked. "I'm the one sending you the gifts," she said. "And you're welcome." "Why?" I asked. "Because Madison screwed me over long before she got to you," she said. "I was supposed to be in on the deal she's building with Jared. Instead, they cut me out. But lucky for both of us, I kept receipts." She popped open the SUV's trunk. Inside were 3 hard drives and a stack of manila folders thick enough to choke a shredder. "Everything you need to make her untouchable image fall apart," she said. "Emails, wire transfers, tax games, even a few things Jared's wife might want to see." I stared at the hall, my pulse climbing. "And you're just giving this to me?" "Not exactly," she said. "You get it all, but in return, you take the first hit. Go public. Make it loud. Make it messy. Draw all the fire so they don't see me moving in the background." It hit me then. She didn't just want revenge. She wanted a war. And if I said yes, I'd be the one on the front line. She closed the trunk and handed me a flash drive. "A sample," she said. "Decide if you're in, but decide fast. Because once they realize I've been leaking to you," her smile turned sharp, "we'll both be running." I slipped the drive into my pocket, my mind already racing. This wasn't just about Madison anymore. It was about burning down the whole structure she was hiding in. And I wasn't sure if I was ready, but I knew I wasn't walking away. I didn't sleep that night. Back in my apartment, I plugged the flash drive into my old laptop, the one that wasn't synced to anything Madison might still have access to. The folder opened slow, like it knew what was inside could ruin people. The first file was a spreadsheet labeled Partnership Allocations, confidential. It took me a minute to understand it, but once I did, my stomach tightened. Madison and Jared had been diverting huge sums, Money that was supposed to be reinvested into the company, into private shell accounts. Clean on paper, dirty underneath. The next file was worse. A PDF of emails between Madison and a man I didn't know. They weren't romantic. They were worse, laying out a plan to sell off part of her company's tech to a competitor overseas under a consulting cover. And in one of those emails, there was in black and white, once Ethan's gone, there's no loose end to tie up. It didn't take a genius to figure out what gone meant. By 4 a.m., my desk was littered with printed copies. I kept running my fingers over the paper, grounding myself in the fact that this was real. They weren't just betraying me personally. They were building an entire operation on fraud and cutting anyone in their way. I thought about calling the police, but then I imagined Madison in front of the jury, smiling, twisting every detail until I looked like the bitter, unstable husband. She was too polished, too practiced at turning truth into misunderstanding. No, this needed to break in a way she couldn't control. At 8 a.m., my phone buzzed. It wasn't Madison. It was Jared. Jared, we need to meet. Alone. Noon. Maxwell's Cafe. I stared at the screen. They were moving fast now. Maxwell's was one of those sleek coffee shops where everyone pretends to work while they watch each other. Jared was already there. Corner table, suit perfect. Tie just loose enough to look casual. He didn't stand when I walked in. Ethan, he said, leaning back like he owned the air between us. I think we both know last night was unwise. I didn't sit. You mean the part where your little scheme made its debut? He chuckled. You think you have something, but what you have is fragments. Out of context, dangerous. For you, for Madison, for a lot of people who could make your life unpleasant. And if I don't delete it? I asked. His eyes sharpened. Then your name will be the only one the FBI hears first. And trust me, Ethan, they'll believe it. That was his game. Make me the fall guy. He'd planned this long before the flowers. Maybe even before I knew anything was wrong. I leaned closer. If you think I'm scared, Jared, you're not paying attention. His smirk faltered. I turned to leave, but he called after me, low and cold. You won't see it coming, Ethan. Walking back to my car, I realized something important. Jared was rattled. He wouldn't have called me in person if he wasn't, which meant I had more power than I thought. At least for now. By the time I got home, my phone lit up with a new message from the woman in the leather jacket. Unknown, they're panicking. Ready to make them bleed? I typed back before I could second-guess myself. Tell me what you have in mind. An hour later, I was in her SUV again. She handed me a second flash drive, heavier than the first, full of bank transfers, whistleblower complaints buried in HR, and even a recording of Madison mocking the company's CEO. Her plan was simple. Feed it piece by piece to a very specific list of people, investors, regulators, and the media, so Madison couldn't plug the leaks fast enough. But as she explained, I realized something she didn't say out loud. Once this started, there'd be no stopping it. If I went forward, I wasn't just ruining Madison and Jared. I was lighting a match to an entire company. And matches, they burn everything in reach. The first match was small. That afternoon, I sent one email, just one. The recipient, an investigative journalist I knew from a local podcast, someone who'd once helped a friend expose shady dealings in City Hall. The attachment was a single audio file from the leather jacket woman's stash, Madison's recorded conversation with Jared, the one where she said, "Once Ethan's out of the picture, we can roll the whole thing into our names." I didn't explain it. I didn't have to. I just wrote, "If you want the rest, follow the trail." By the next morning, the audio was already making the rounds in small business forums and LinkedIn gossip circles. It hadn't hit the mainstream yet, but the spark was catching. I spent the day in the library again, using public Wi-Fi to upload more pieces, a blurred screenshot of the offshore accounts, a cropped section of their wire transfers, each one sent anonymously to a different set of eyes. I thought I was being careful. I thought I was controlling the burn. I was wrong. Around 6 p.m., as I was packing up, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. Clark, the voice said. Male. Cold. You're making a lot of enemies fast. I didn't respond. We warned you once. This is your last one. Stop or we stop you. The call ended. I stared at the phone until the screen went dark. My reflection in it looked different now. More tired, more dangerous. I left the library fast, scanning the street as I walked. Every parked car felt like it had eyes. When I reached my apartment, the door was ajar. I froze. Inside, drawers were pulled out, cushions tossed, my desk cleared. They hadn't taken the TV or my wallet. This wasn't a robbery. It was a message. In the center of the kitchen table sat a single daisy, its stem neatly cut short. Next to it was a folded sheet of paper. Last warning. I didn't call the cops. They wouldn't see this for what it was. Instead, I grabbed the hard drive I'd hidden behind the water heater, the full copy of everything from the leather jacket woman, and stuffed it in my backpack. My apartment wasn't safe anymore. I called her. "They've been here," I said. There was silence. Then her voice dropped. "They won't stop now. You need to finish this before they get to you." "How?" I asked. Her answer came like a knife. "We go public. All of it. One shot. No turning back." That night, I sat in the front seat of my car in a dark parking lot, staring at the hard drive in my lap. If I released everything, it would end them. Madison, Jared, the company, burned down to the ground. But it would also mean exposing myself completely. My name, my face, my role. No more hiding. And if I miscalculated, they wouldn't just ruin my life. They might actually kill me. I was still deciding when headlights swept across the lot, and a black SUV pulled in, slow. It parked 2 spaces away. The driver's door opened, and Jared stepped out. Jared didn't rush toward me. He closed the SUV door like he had all the time in the world, then leaned against it, hands in his pockets. "You've been busy," he said, his voice carrying in the empty lot. I didn't move. The hard drive sat on the passenger seat, covered by my jacket. "Guess you've been keeping track," I said. He smiled, not the smug boardroom smile I'd seen before, but something colder. "You think you're winning. You're not. All you've done is put a target on your back, and now everyone wants a piece." "That includes you?" I asked. He tilted his head, almost amused. "I'm here to give you a way out. Delete everything, hand over your copies, and disappear. We'll even throw you a little severance. Clean break." I laughed once, sharp. A payoff to keep quiet. "That's your way out?" "Better than the alternative," he said, pushing off the SUV. "And trust me, Clark, you won't like the alternative." I was about to answer when a second set of headlights lit the lot. The silver SUV rolled in and stopped between us. The driver's window dropped, and the woman in the leather jacket leaned out. "Get in," she called to me. Jared's eyes narrowed. "So you're the leak." She smirked. "Nice to finally meet you in person, Jared. You look shorter without your PR team." I got in her passenger seat, and before Jared could say another word, she threw the SUV into reverse and sped out of the lot. My heart was hammering. "You know he's not bluffing," I said once we were a block away. "I know," she replied, eyes locked on the road. "That's why we do this tonight." She handed me a USB stick, smaller than my thumb. Everything clean, compressed, and scheduled. One upload, and it'll hit every major outlet, regulator, and investor by morning. They won't have time to bury it. We parked in an empty strip mall, the glow of a single 24-hour laundromat spilling across the lot. Inside, the smell of detergent and old coffee clung to the air. I opened my laptop on one of the folding tables. "This is it," she said. "Once you hit send, there's no pulling it back." My fingers hovered over the trackpad. I thought about the morning in the lobby, the daisies crushed in the trash, the way Madison's voice had been flat when she told security to get me out. I thought about the stranger's threats, the men in the diner, the daisy left on my kitchen table. And then I thought about something else. Silence. The kind of silence where they win, and I disappear into nothing. I clicked send. The progress bar crept forward, my pulse matching its pace. 30%. 50. 80. Then the laundromat door banged open. 2 men stepped in. Plain clothes. The same ones from the diner. The shorter one smiled when he saw me. Guess you didn't take the warning. The taller one took a step forward, and behind him, a third figure walked in. Madison, her eyes locked on mine, not a trace of shock in them. Step away from the laptop, Ethan, she said softly. Now. For a second, the laundromat felt too small, too quiet. The only sound was the spin cycle of a dryer in the corner. Madison stood there like she owned the place, her blazer sharp, her lipstick perfect, like she just stepped out of a boardroom instead of walking in to crush me. You really think this isn't the way you want, she said, her voice low but steady. Even if you hit send, you're the one holding stolen data. You're the one breaking the law. They'll believe me. They always believe me. I glanced at the screen. 92%. Almost there. I'm not doing this for them to believe me. I said, I'm doing this so they see you. Her mouth twitched, just enough to tell me she felt the hit. The tall guy stepped forward, blocking my view of the laptop. Last chance, Clark. Walk away. I looked past him, right at Madison. You had me escorted out of your office for bringing you flowers. You humiliated me, cut me out, planned to erase me like I was nothing. I felt the heat rise in my chest. I'm done walking away. The taller man reached for me. Before he could grab my arm, the woman in the leather jacket moved. Fast. Something in her hand glinted, and the guy froze with short, sharp gasp. I didn't need to see what it was. Touch him and you'll limp home, she said evenly. Madison's eyes darted between us. She wasn't in control anymore, and she knew it. You think this will ruin me? This'll blow over in a week. People forget. I'll rebuild. I shook my head. Not when they see all of it. The progress bar hit 100%. The laptop chimed once, a bright little sound that felt like a gunshot in the silence. In that moment, the files were gone from my hands, scattered across inboxes and newsrooms, impossible to recall. Madison's face changed, not shock, not fear. It was something worse. Hate. Cold, pure hate. She knew it was over. You'll regret this, she said. Maybe, I replied, but you'll regret more. We backed out slowly, the leather jacket woman keeping herself between me and the goons. By the time we hit the parking lot, I could already hear Madison's voice inside, sharp and panicked, trying to salvage whatever pieces she could. In the SUV, the woman handed me her phone. Look, she said. Headlines were already popping up. Anonymous leak exposes massive corporate fraud. Investors were demanding answers. A regulator's office had posted they were reviewing credible evidence. And at the bottom of one article, a photo from that all-hands meeting in the lobby, frozen mid-frame, Madison looking at me like she'd seen a ghost. By morning, her name was everywhere. The board announced she'd been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Jared resigned to focus on personal matters. As for me, I didn't get a medal. I didn't get an apology. What I got was my life back and the quiet satisfaction of knowing she couldn't erase me. Sometimes revenge isn't about the big moment in the lobby or the dramatic showdown in a laundromat. Sometimes it's just about making sure they can't tell their story without yours in it, forever. And that I could live with.